Another cycle. The checklist glows a placid green on my main console, a tidy column of accomplished tasks. Filtration conduits flushed, silt traps cycled, core temperature nominal. All the little litanies that keep the muckworm churning through the sludge of the sump. I sip the lukewarm, recycled water from my flask. Tastes like metal and filtered regret, same as always. Doesn't matter, it's wet. Outside the triple-paned viewport, there is nothing, just the black. Not the gentle, star-dusted black of space, but a dense, suffocating, absolute black. A physical presence that presses against the hull. A constant reminder that I am 10 kilometers below anything that could be considered a surface. The muckworm's floodlights cut a temporary tunnel through it, illuminating a lazy ballet of particulate matter and the occasional stupid-looking abyssal slick fin that strays too close to the dredge. Routine. That's the job. Keep things routine. Keep the station's water potable. Don't think about the pressure. My console chimes softly. Sector dredge complete. Returning to Maintenance Dock 4. I acknowledge the prompt with a lazy tap. The sub's engines hum, the vibration a familiar companion in my spine. Time to go home, if you can call a bunk the size of a coffin home. Another 10 hours down here. Another 1,000 credits in the account. For what? So I can buy better nutrient paste and the premium subscription to the old Earth media servers. The whole thing is a joke. Just follow the list, do the job, collect the pay. Rinse and repeat until something gives. My gloved hand hovers over the return to base autopilot. The last step. The best step. A thought flickers. Maybe I'll watch that old war movie tonight. The one with the boats. I miss boats. I miss open sky. Funny what you miss when you live at the bottom of a planetary cistern. The quiet here is the main draw. No people, no politics, no expectations. Just me, the machine, and the predictable physics of... The world becomes a violence of motion and sound. One moment I am floating in my command chair. The next I am slammed into the forward console with the force of a hydraulic press. My skull connects with the cool metal frame of the viewport, and the nova of white-hot pain explodes behind my eyes. The sub groans, a deep, resonant shriek of tormented metal that I feel in my teeth. It is the sound of physics breaking its promises. I am on the deck plating, tangled in a loose diagnostic cable. Every alarm is screaming at once, a discordant symphony of failure. The calm green of the checklist is gone, replaced by a strobing, malevolent red. Main power failure, hull integrity compromised, life support offline. Then, silence. The alarms die, the engine's hum vanishes, the floodlights snap off. The universe outside and inside becomes one and the same, absolute, crushing blackness. I can hear nothing but the ragged panic of my own breath and the frantic, drumming beat of my heart against my ribs. After a moment, a single, pitifully dim emergency strip flickers to life above the viewport, casting the cockpit in a bloody, spectral crimson. The placid order of my world hasn't just been disturbed, it has been ripped apart. In the gore-red light of the emergency strip, I take inventory. Body first. Left arm screams when I try to put weight on it. Dislocated shoulder. Great. Head is bleeding. I can feel warm wetness matting my hair. Also great. Just follow the checklist. Always the checklist. My training kicks in, a cool layer of procedure over the hot core of panic. Assess, triage, act. My fingers, clumsy and shaking, find the manual life support override. I slam the chunky lever down. A shudder runs through the cabin, followed by the faint welcome hiss of scrubbers and oxygen kicking in on battery reserve. The air, which had started to feel thick and syrupy, thins again. Good. I won't suffocate. At least, not immediately. Okay, I mutter to the dead air. Status. My voice sounds thin, a useless squeak in the iron coffin. The backup console takes a lifetime to flicker on, its light weak and apologetic. Comms, offline. Propulsion, offline. Hull integrity, critical breach, outer layer, sections 7 to 12. Main reactor, emergency shutdown. And the most important one, reserve power, 18%. Life support drain, 4% per hour. A quick mental calculation. A little over 4 hours. Right. That's the new timeline. For my entire existence. I crawl back into the command chair, shoulder protesting with a wave of nausea. There's one last-ditch option. The big red button. Emergency ballast thrusters. Solid fuel rockets bolted to the hull, designed to shoot the sub skyward like a cork. Never been tested, never needed to be. Well, I grunt, sweat beading on my forehead. No time like the present. I key in the arming sequence, the plastic of the console cover protesting as I flip it up. The button underneath glows with a tempting, furious light. My thumb hovers over it. 3, 2, 1. I press it. Nothing. I press it again, harder this time, as if brute force could fix a fried circuit. Nothing. A low groan escapes my lips. I tap the console. Big, sharp bits, moves fast, noted. Except I hadn't even seen what hit me. Emergency ballast thrusters. Status? Probably ripped off the hull with the rest of Section 7. Noted. The cold logic of assessment begins to curdle. My breath comes faster. Why would the emergency system work? Everything fails. That's the one constant. Of course it failed. The apathetic sigh that's been my life's soundtrack feels inadequate. A low, unfamiliar growl builds in my throat. Irritation. Raw, hot annoyance at this cosmic inconvenience. This utter violation of my carefully managed right to be left alone. That's when I see them. Drifting past the viewport where only blackness should be. Lights. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds. Not the warm, artificial yellow of a rescue drone, but a cold, predatory blue-white like Arctic starlight. They move with an unnatural synchronicity, a vast, sweeping pattern that fills the entire viewport. They are not random. It is a constellation, shifting and gliding through the abyss with an impossible grace. I see no body, no source, just the pinpricks of light themselves, painting a shimmering ghost of a creature larger than anything I could have imagined. Larger than the muckworm, larger than the maintenance dock, an impossible living galaxy. It holds me mesmerized for a full minute, a silent, majestic predator made of frozen starlight. Then, as silently as it appeared, the constellation drifts on, the lights fading one by one, until the absolute black rushes back in to reclaim its throne. The cockpit feels colder now, smaller. The impossible vision is gone, but the impression is burned onto the back of my eyelids, a cold, biological aurora. Whatever it was massive, and it was alive. And it's the reason I'm sitting in a dead metal can at the bottom of everything. Annoyance hardens into something sharp and bitter. The Sump wasn't supposed to have anything interesting in it. That was the whole point. Predictable, boring, sterile water. This is a breach of contract, a personal insult. My mind latches on to the next problem. Procedure. Always procedure. Ballast failed. Okay, next item on the list. Communication. Even if the primary comms are fried, the long-range sonar has a distress function. It sends out a tight beam ping. Not for voice, just a simple, loud, "I am here." It's a power hog, but if there's a search party up there, they'd see the signature. It's a shot. I reroute what little power I can spare from life support. The console screen flickers, a pie chart showing my dwindling energy reserves shrinking as a new slice is allocated to sonar. A low hum builds, vibrating through the deck plates, the only sound in my tomb. "Come on, you bastard," I whisper, leaning forward, my face inches from the screen. Just one clean ping. The button confirms with a satisfying thump. On the display, a bright green line lances out from the center, a digital shout into the void. I watch it go, a tendril of hope. The seconds stretch into an eternity, waiting for the echo, waiting for a sign that I'm still connected to the world. The return ping arrives, painting the screen with topographical data. My breath catches in my throat. I'm not just on the sump floor, I'm wedged sideways in some kind of abyssal trench. Sheer rock walls rise up on either side of me, an unmapped scar in the geology of the reservoir bed. That would explain the impact. I didn't just get hit, I got swatted out of the sky and hammered into a ditch. But that's not the worst of it. The ping continued upward. I trace its path on the screen, past the trench walls, through kilometers of open black water, up, 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 towards the tether point for comms buoy 7, my only hardline connection to the surface station. A tiny green dot should be there, a familiar, reassuring marker of my link to the world above. There's nothing. The sonar return shows the mooring cable, thick as my arm, dangling in the current. But where the buoy should be, there is just empty water. The line on the screen is flat, no return signal. It's been sheared off. Not drifted, not malfunctioning, gone, ripped away. A cold fist clenches in my gut. My head falls forward, resting on the cool glass of the viewport. I stare out into the indifferent black, seeing the ghost of those lights again. It didn't just hit me. It went up. It went for the buoy. This thing violated the one piece of my world I thought was absolute. My carefully constructed solitude depended on that link, on the choice to be alone, a choice that could be rescinded with a call for rescue. Now that choice has been taken from me. "You have got to be kidding me," I snarl, my voice a venomous rasp. The sub is no longer my quiet workplace. It's a cage. I'm not a lone operator anymore. I'm prey. And my cage has been dragged off the map. This colossal starlit bastard didn't just cripple my sub, it severed the one thing connecting me to the sky. The clock, the plan, a system, a plot. The initial fury burns itself out, leaving a cold, hard ash in my stomach. Anger is a useless luxury. It costs oxygen. Panic costs more. What I need now are answers. If I'm going to die down here, I at least want to know the name of my executioner. I need to understand what hit me, what took my comms buoy, what's swimming around in the dark with its own private galaxy of lights. My options are limited. External cameras are fried. The sonar shows me geography, not biology. But there is one last place to look, the deep archives. The muckworm logs everything. Every sensor reading, every pressure fluctuation, every chemical anomaly. All of it gets bundled and offloaded during weekly maintenance. But the onboard drive holds decades of raw data, a ghost library of the Sump. Accessing it is a power drain I can barely afford, but ignorance is a bigger threat than a few percentage points of battery life. Gotta be a reason, I mutter, my fingers flying across the auxiliary console, pulling up system menus that haven't been opened since the sub was commissioned. Cynicism is my shield now, my analytical tool. Everything has a pattern. What are you? Where did you come from? What's your weakness? Everyone's got one. The archives flicker to life, text and data scrolling by in a nauseating green waterfall. I filter the search, date range, last 50 years. Search parameter, massive energy or biological readings outside standard parameters. The system chugs. The reserve power display dips another precious percentage point. And then a hit. A handful of logs from 30, 40 years ago. Each one details a massive, transient biosignature, miles long, detected for only a few minutes before vanishing. Each report is followed by a notation from the surface station. Sensor ghost, data corruption, dismissed. They saw it. Over and over again, their instruments screamed that something huge was down here, and they wrote it off as a glitch in the machine. They chose to believe their systems were faulty, rather than confront the possibility that the Sump wasn't sterile. It's not enough. A sensor ghost doesn't tear a communications buoy from its moorings. I dig deeper, my search now frantic. I cross-reference the dates of the glitches with the sub's own navigational logs. Another hit. One of the biosignatures corresponds with the date of an archaic geological survey loaded into our deep memory. An old pre-station survey from the first colony ships. It's mostly seismic data, but I skim through the attached mission logs, looking for anything. There, buried in a subfolder labeled Miscellaneous, is a single text file, a geologist's addendum, barely a paragraph long. The tone is dry, academic, but the words make the hair on my arms stand up. Geothermal analysis of Trench 47-gamma indicates potential for chemosynthesis-based ecosystem. Though sump water is generally sterile, this thermocline layer may support isolated life. Atmospheric processor intake should be routed clear of this sector. Indigenous macrofauna possible in thermocline layer, unverified. Avoid. My hands freeze over the console. I read the last 3 words again. Unverified. Avoid. They knew. The founders, the ones who built the station, who dug this colossal reservoir, who sunk the first filtration pipes. They knew there was a possibility, and they buried it. They filed it under miscellaneous and built their perfect, clean, orderly world on top of it, hoping the thing in the basement would stay quiet. My entire job, the routine I've been living for years, is predicated on a lie. We're not janitors cleaning a tank. We're groundskeepers for a prison, and the one and only inmate just broke out of its cell. The sarcastic shield I'd held up, dust in the face of this reality. A cold dread, pure and absolute, floods the cabin. My clipped sentences return, not from apathy, but from shock. Oh, so that's what it is. That's not good. The knowledge sits in the cockpit with me, a second passenger made of cold, heavy dread. They knew, and they said nothing. My entire sense of this place, the sterile, predictable Sump, has been a comforting fiction. The truth is swimming outside my viewport. The power console blinks at me, reserve at a pathetic 9%. Soon I'll have to shut down everything but basic life support, and the cockpit will return to its blood-red gloom. Then I feel it. A low, rhythmic pulse. It's not a sound, not at first. It's a vibration that climbs up from the deck plates, through the soles of my boots, and into the marrow of my bones. Thrum. A pause. Thrum. It is slow, methodical, like a heartbeat. A heartbeat that measures its pace not in seconds, but in the geological time of the abyss. My own heart stutters, trying to match the impossible cadence. I am paralyzed in my chair, every nerve ending screaming. The pulse grows stronger, the vibrations resonating through the muckworm's hull until the whole submersible hums with a terrifying alien rhythm. The recycled air tastes of ozone and fear. I am a fly, caught in the strings of a continent-sized guitar, and something is slowly plucking the strings. Slowly, I turn my head towards the viewport, and there they are. The lights, they've come back. They're no longer a distant, passing constellation. They are close. They circle the sub, a slow, deliberate patrol. The cold, blue-white pinpricks illuminate fleeting details in the oppressive dark. I see a section of hide, not scaled like a fish, but plated like ancient, chiseled armor forged from obsidian. It's pitted and scarred, marked by eons spent in the crushing pressure. Then another glimpse, a texture like wet granite, vast and curving away into the darkness. The creature is circling, studying me, showing itself piece by agonizing piece. My detached, analytical mind struggles to surface, a drowning man clawing for air. Jaded understanding of a cruel world is now a survival tool, I tell myself. Fine. It's big. It's intelligent. So what is the pattern here? Why not just crush me and be done with it? It hit me. It severed my connection to the surface. It watched me try to escape. Now it's drumming on my door. These are not the actions of a dumb beast. My thoughts lengthen, desperation connecting the dots. This isn't a random encounter in the wilderness. This is a sequence, a process. Then, a single, dominant light detaches from the circling pattern and moves directly towards the viewport. It grows brighter, larger, resolving itself. It is not just a light. It is an eye. An eye the size of my viewport, the size of a small vehicle. The blue-white glow is its pupil, surrounded by an iris of liquid darkness. It blinks, slowly, a tectonic plate of an eyelid sliding shut and opening again. There is no malice in it, no rage, just a vast, cold, ancient intelligence. It is looking not at the muckworm, but into it. It is looking at me. And in that moment, all my theories and analyses collapse into a single sickening certainty. The detached resignation I used to wear like armor is gone, flensed from my bones by that single unblinking stare. This is not a force of nature. This is a mind, and it has been watching me. The hit and run, the destroyed buoy, it was all deliberate. I am being actively, intelligently hunted. I am no longer a diver in a crippled sub. I am an experiment, trapped in a petri dish, and the scientist is finally leaning in for a closer look. The voice was ever closer. My mind is racing, fueled by the primal terror of being watched, of being assessed. A plan, born of desperation, claws its way out of the fog of fear. The old geological survey, the addendum. It was filed with a map, an ancient topographical chart of this sector. I'd ignored it before, but now it's my only hope. With my battery draining at an alarming rate, I pull up the faded chart, a grid of blue lines over a black background. My fingers trace the lines around my current position in the trench. There, about 500 meters from here, a dense, complex icon labeled Filtration Conduits, Sector Gamma 7, decommissioned. It's an iron reef, a man-made forest of ancient discarded filtration pipes, a relic from the station's construction. Too dense for the big dredging subs to clear out, too tight for something of that magnitude to follow. It's a suicidal risk. I have barely enough power for a single controlled burn of the maneuvering thrusters. If I miscalculate, I either slam into a rock wall or drift helplessly into the open. A steel door. Great. Bet the hinges are rust, I mutter. The old cynicism a pathetic shield against the terror. But my actions betray the words. I am already rerouting the last dregs of power to the thrusters, my movements sharp and efficient. The great eye watches, unmoving. The rhythmic thrumming continues its slow, hypnotic beat. It knows I'm about to do something. With a lurch that sends a fresh spike of pain through my shoulder, the muckworm moves. I'm flying blind, navigating solely by the ghostly topography of the old map. The thrusters sputter, starving for power. For 60 agonizing seconds, the sub drifts through the black. The lights of the creature follow, keeping pace. It's not attacking. It's curious. It's letting me run. Then, a dark shape materializes out of the gloom ahead. The pipes, a tangled, skeletal forest of metal coated in a thick layer of calcified sediment. I kill the thrusters and brace for impact. The sub hits with a jarring clang, scraping through a narrow gap between two colossal conduits before wedging itself firmly into the metallic maze. I am in. I sit for a full minute, listening. The rhythmic thrumming of the creature fades, baffled by the dense metal jungle around me. It is out there, I know, but it cannot reach me here. The tension in my body eases by a fraction. Hope is a poison I haven't allowed myself in years, but a tiny drop of it finds its way in. As my eyes adjust, I see something else on the pipe next to me. A junction box, an old emergency power conduit marked with the faded lightning bolt insignia. Another desperate gamble forms. Using the sub's external manipulator arm, a tool designed for delicate filter replacements, I manage, after 20 agonizing minutes, to break open the corroded housing and rig a crude connection to the muckworm's own power intake. Sparks fly, the connection sizzles, my console flickers wildly, then dies. I hold my breath. Nothing. And then, a low, steady hum. The main cabin lights flicker on, not at full strength, but bright enough to banish the red emergency glow. The life support system kicks in with a reassuring, steady hiss. On the console, the battery indicator isn't just holding steady, it's creeping upwards. 6%, 7%. A low, choked laugh escapes me. It worked. Wedged in a metal forest, protected, power trickling back into my systems. A quiet, dangerous thought surfaces, silencing the cynical voice in my head. This might actually work. We might make it. For the first time since the impact, I let my head fall back against the headrest. I can wait here, charge the batteries, think. I might just live. The hum of the power conduit is the sweetest sound I have ever heard. It's the sound of stability, of safety. I allow my muscles, which have been clenched into solid knots of iron for hours, to finally relax. My body sinks into the command chair, heavy with exhaustion and relief. I can just wait. The creature is immense, but its patience can't be infinite. Eventually, it will move on, and I will have enough power for another distress call to repair something, anything. My mind, blessedly free from the immediate threat of death, starts to work on solutions again. Hope feels warm, unfamiliar. It's a flicker of light in a universe of darkness. The light turns white hot. A deafening crack erupts from the power junction beside the viewport. The emergency conduit doesn't just overload, it explodes in a brilliant, violent shower of blue-white sparks. The surge rips through my subsystems. Every light, every console, every humming system simultaneously blows out with a series of sharp, percussive pops. The muckworm is plunged back into absolute, silent blackness. Worse than before. This time, even the pathetic red emergency strip is dead. This silence is final. The smell of fried electronics fills the cabin, the funeral pyre of my brief hope. The explosion's shockwave dislodges the sub from its metallic sanctuary. I feel a nauseating lurch as the muckworm slips free of the pipe reef, its dead mass now drifting helplessly back out into the open water of the trench. No, 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 no. My brief, fragile moment of belief shatters into a million razor-sharp pieces. The cynical shield I'd worn for years hadn't been strong enough, but this is devastating because I let myself believe. That small, treacherous seed of hope has bloomed into a crown of thorns. raw, unfiltered rage, hot as the electrical fire that just consumed my sub, boils up from my core. The face of some long-forgotten superior officer flashes in my mind, a man who told me my cynicism was a liability. The memory evaporates in a flash of pure, present-tense fury. Through the viewport, the Leviathan's lights reappear, a cold, patient constellation. But something is different. It's not alone. Emerging from the abyss beneath it, drawn by the massive electrical discharge, is a swarm. Dozens of them, smaller, shark-sized versions of the colossal creature, their bodies sleek and armored, each with its own cluster of cold, bioluminescent lights. They move with a terrifying, unified purpose, a shoal of living torpedoes zeroing in on my drifting wreck. It hits me then, a revelation of such perfect, predatory intellect that it hollows me out. The power conduit. It wasn't a shelter, it was bait. The Leviathan hadn't been baffled by the iron reef. It herded me here. It knew this old power line was unstable, knew what a desperate man would do. It watched me build my own trap. It made me spring it. The first of the swarmers hits the hull. The impact is a sharp, percussive thump, followed by the high-pitched screech of metal claws on the muckworm's hide. Another hits, then another. The sub begins to shudder under a frenzied assault. A crack spiders across the outer pane of the viewport. They're tearing me apart. All my logic, all my procedure, all my training. It was all just a mouse navigating a maze designed by a god. It wasn't hunting me, it was playing with me. And now, the game is over. My voice is no longer a whisper. I scream into the dead calms, a primal howl of rage and grief at the vast, intelligent darkness that has so utterly and completely outwitted me. Then, a small fraction opens up a much bigger crack. The screech of tearing metal is the only sound in the universe. A fresh spiderweb of cracks blossoms across the viewport glass with every impact. The smaller creatures are relentless, a piranha swarm stripping my iron shell to the bone. The red lights of warning displays I can no longer read are reflecting in the cracks, a shattered map of my own imminent death. Hull breach warnings I can't hear are flashing on a console I can't see. It's seconds now, maybe less. All the training, all the procedure, the thousands of hours logged in this very seat, they've all evaporated. Hope is a burnt-out circuit. Fear is a useless luxury. What remains? The wreckage. A broken body in a broken machine, hunted by an ancient, unknowable god of the deep. It won. I'm just a loose thread it's pulling to unravel. My head lolls to the side. My eyes fall on the engineering console, on one specific diagram that has been glowing in a calm, steady amber since the start of this nightmare. The microreactor. A volatile, high-energy fission core designed to power this sub for a century. A device I have only ever been trained to maintain, to coddle, to respect. A sleeping sun in a bottle. My job was to keep it stable, to follow the rules. But the rules are gone. The checklist is gone. The person who followed them is gone too, stripped away layer by layer until only this raw, ragged core is left. The apathy, the sarcasm, the brief, foolish hope, The terror, the rage, all of it has been burned away like fuel. What remains is a quiet, simple, and horrifically clear sense of purpose. I can't escape it. I can't hide from it. But I don't have to die for nothing. My movements are no longer frantic. They are calm, deliberate, each motion imbued with the immense weight of finality. I pull myself over to the engineering panel. My good hand flies across the maintenance controls, keying in override codes from memory. Codes I was only ever supposed to use in a zero chance of survival decommissioning scenario. Ironic. The console demands confirmations. I give them. Warning, reactor shielding will be vented. Are you sure? Yes. Warning, coolant system will be purged. Are you sure? Yes. Warning, manual fission ignition will result in catastrophic containment failure. This action is irreversible. Are you sure? My internal monologue is clear, sharp, and stripped of all emotion. It is the voice of a man with nothing left to lose and one singular thing left to do. You brought me into your world, I think, my gaze fixed on the great, watching lights of the parent creature outside. I'll bring a little of mine into yours. A new icon appears on the screen, a countdown timer, 15 minutes. Enough time for the reactor to bypass its governors and build to an unstoppable critical state. I look at the swarmers tearing at my hull, then past them at the silent, watching constellation of the parent. My escape plan failed. My sanctuary was a trap. But I have one tool left, one final procedure. If I can't escape the monster, I will turn myself, this sub, this life I barely cared about, into the weapon. My finger presses the final confirmation. Yes. The timer is a glaring crimson centerpiece in the ruined cockpit. 14:32. The muckworm shudders as another piece of the outer hull is torn free. The swarmers are frenzied, but they are just the appetizer. The main course, the great intelligence that orchestrated this, is still out there, watching. A bomb is only as good as its delivery system. For this to work, I need to get closer. I need to be irresistible. The last of my energy, the last of my options. The voice inside my head is now purely tactical, a stripped-down checklist for the end of the world. Reactor override initiated. T-minus now 13 minutes. Goal, proximity to primary target. Method, audio lure. I push my battered body toward the forward controls. With the last dregs of power from the sub's dead batteries, I activate one final system. The external reclamation drill. It's not a weapon. It's a grinder, an industrial tool for pulverizing sediment. But it produces an incredible amount of high-frequency vibration. In the archive, during my desperate search for answers, I saw a footnote on the swarmers. Their biosignatures clustered around sonic frequencies used for distress calls. A hypothesis. A guess. My last one. I push the drill's motor to its absolute maximum. The sub screams. It's a sound of pure mechanical agony, a high-pitched, piercing shriek that cuts through the water, a digital mimicry of a creature in its death throes. Outside, the effect is instantaneous. The swarmers attacking my hull pause. Their movements become confused, agitated. They are hearing the cry of one of their own being vivisected. And the parent? It notices. The vast constellation of lights, which had been holding a patient, observing distance, now begins to move. All the scattered points of light coalesce, pulling together, focusing. They are coming towards me. The rhythmic thrumming I felt before returns, but now it is fast, urgent. A predator's heartbeat accelerating as it closes in on wounded prey. My console reads 0947. The shrieking of the drill is a siren song, and the Leviathan is answering its call. It emerges from the blackness not as a collection of lights, but as a solid, unified entity. Its head, if it can be called that, is a mountain of armored obsidian resolving out of the depths. At its center, a cavern opens. A mouth, not a mouth of teeth and flesh, but an impossibly vast maw. A cave of gravitational pressure lined with spiraling constellations of those same cold blue-white lights. It is a portal to another universe, a black hole lined with stars. My plan is working. It thinks I am its wounded child. It is coming to investigate, or perhaps to consume. It doesn't matter. 5:12. The final minutes of my life are ticking away in angry red numerals. With the sub dead, I have no propulsion, no way to close the final distance. I am a drifting, screaming bomb, waiting for my target to come to me. And it is. The great mouth fills the viewport, blotting out everything else. Come on, a little closer. Take the bait. Take it all. The journey into that starlit abyss begins with a soft, inexorable pull. A current, not of water, but of sheer biological force, drawing the dying muckworm in. The sub is no longer my coffin, it's a warhead, and I am its pilot, on a final, one-way approach. The pull becomes a torrent. The shrieking of the drill is drowned out by the sound of rushing water and a low, resonant groan that seems to emanate from the very fabric of the sump. The star-filled maw of the Leviathan looms, then engulfs me. One moment, the viewport shows the black of the trench. The next, it is filled with an internal, living cosmos. I am inside. It is not a gullet of flesh and gore as I would understand it. It is a cavern of shimmering, bioluminescent membrane and colossal, grinding muscle that moves with the slow, inexorable power of continental plates. Spiraling patterns of light pulse rhythmically along the walls of this throat, an alien digestive tract lighting my path to oblivion. The muckworm is dragged deeper, tumbling end over end through a cathedral of primordial life. The pressure changes. It is no longer just the immense weight of the water above, but an active, crushing force from all sides. The hull, already savaged by the swarmers, begins to groan, its shrieks now pathetic whimpers against the power of this creature. Metal fatigue alarms, long dead, flash in my memory. The internal monologue is gone. My mind is a space of pure, primal instinct. There are no more plans to make, only an ending to execute. Brace. A support beam above my head buckles, a sheet of metal folding like paper. The viewport, which is held against the impossible pressure of the sump, finally gives. With a deafening report, it crazes into 1,000,000 cubes of diamond-hard glass, and the internal wall of the beast presses inward. The timer on the console is still visible through the wreckage, 00:45. The cockpit compresses. The walls are closing in. My broken arm is crushed against the console, and a new, shocking pain lances through me. But it is distant, unimportant. The sub's frame screams its final protest. This is it. The culmination of everything. The anger, the fear, the grim purpose. All of it has led to this moment, crushed within the belly of the beast that tormented me. It thinks it has won. It thinks it has swallowed the annoying little mote of metal that trespassed in its domain. But I brought the sun with me. 0:10. My hand, the only part of me I can still move, is resting near the final detonation command. The override I initiated was manual, but there is one last switch. The kill switch. A final, physical input to tell the dying machine that now is the time. The grinding muscle of the gullet contracts. The muckworm crumples like a tin can. Now, my fingers find the switch. I don't slam it, I press it. A calm, quiet, deliberate act. An imposition of an ending. The timer vanishes. The crimson numerals are replaced by a single character that fills the screen. A character I have never seen before. It is not a letter or a number. It is a symbol of pure, blinding white energy. For a fraction of a second, the inside of the beast is illuminated not by its own cold starlight, but by the furious, impossible heart of a man-made star. The last thing I see is that perfect, beautiful, terrible white light flooding my world, consuming everything. It is silent. It is final. It is my victory. Consciousness returns, not as a gentle dawn, but as a violent Arctic shock. I am floating. The cold is a physical pain, 1,000,000,000 needles of ice piercing every inch of my skin through the torn fabric of my suit. My emergency pressure suit activated, a last-ditch reflex from a dying machine, but it's compromised. Freezing sump water is leaking in around my left arm. My arm. I look down and see a mangled ruin, shattered bone pushing against the translucent material of the suit. The blast tore the cockpit free, turning it from a coffin into a life raft for a split second before casting me out. I have survived. The thought registers with a slow, dull surprise. I try to breathe, and my ribs send a blinding protest of agony through my chest. Oxygen is hissing somewhere near my helmet, a leak. My time is once again being measured out in dwindling percentages. But this time, it feels different. The adrenaline of the fight, the cold focus of the final act, all of it drains away, leaving a profound, hollow exhaustion. The weight of what I've done, what I've lost, settles over me. There is no triumph, no satisfaction. The rage is gone, its purpose served. The apathy is a distant memory of a person I no longer am. There is only the immense, crushing silence of the aftermath. Slowly, I pivot in the water. My world is no longer black. The water around me is filled with a soft, ethereal, dying glow. It is a graveyard, and I am its sole living inhabitant. Huge, charred chunks of the Leviathan drift lazily in the gentle currents, their bioluminescent cells firing in a last chaotic, beautiful death spasm. They pulse with soft blues and whites, a sea of fading embers. It is the most beautiful and most horrific thing I have ever seen. I float past a piece of wreckage, the twisted, melted remains of the reclamation drill that sang my siren song. I am surrounded by the ghost of my enemy. Its children, the smaller swarmers, are here too. Dozens of them, their armored bodies flash-cooked and split open, their own lights flickering and dying. I have sterilized this corner of the abyss. I have drowned the sun and murdered a god and its entire bloodline. The somber finality of it all is absolute. My injuries are catalogued with a quiet detachment. Broken arm, broken ribs, leaking suit, hypothermia setting in. I have won, but I am alone, crippled and dying in the corpse-lit sea of my victory. There is no feeling left, not joy, not sorrow, just the heavy, slow acknowledgement of the cost. The water glows. The hissing of my oxygen is the only sound, and for the first time in my life, I truly, utterly understand the meaning of silence. The clock started ticking. Weeks later, the med bay is a world of pure, sterile white. The gentle hum of machines has replaced the groan of a dying submersible. The relentless beeping of my vital signs monitor has taken the place of the slow, predatory heartbeat of the deep. They found me. A patrol skiff investigating the sudden disappearance of comms buoy 7 and the anomalous energy reading from my reactor's final scream found me clinging to a piece of wreckage, half dead and delirious. A miracle, they called it. My left arm is a latticework of synth bone and polished steel, a permanent, ugly reminder. They say the nerve damage is too extensive for a full regraft. I will never pilot a sub again. The thought brings neither relief nor sorrow. It is simply a fact. Today, I have a visitor. A man in a crisp corporate uniform, his face a practiced mask of gentle concern. Director Riss. He sits in a chair by my bed, a datapad resting on his knee. He's here for the debrief, the official story. "It was a terrible tragedy, son," he says, his voice smooth and professional. "A catastrophic equipment failure. Your sub's reactor, a 1 in a billion malfunction. We're grateful you're alive." He doesn't ask what happened. He tells me. He is sealing the story in concrete, burying it under layers of procedure and paperwork, the same way his predecessors buried that old geologist's report. I say nothing. I stare at the white wall behind him. What could I tell him? That his sterile reservoir is a god's prison, that we are not its keepers, but its mice, that his precious technology, his entire station, exists only because the thing in the deep allows it to. Words are useless. They cannot convey the vastness of that eye, the cold intelligence, the feeling of a mountain's heart beating in the water around you. He would file it under post-traumatic stress, another inconvenient truth to be managed and forgotten. So I stay silent. My silence is my truth now. He finally nods, taking my silence as assent. You'll be well compensated, of course. A full pension, the best care. He stands, straightens his uniform, and offers a brittle smile. Get some rest, diver. Then he leaves, and the official story is set. The Sump is safe. The incident is closed. But it's not. My cynicism is gone, burned away in a fission blast. But it has not been replaced by hope or healing. What has taken its place is a grim, permanent vigilance. I am forever changed. The detached apathy is a luxury I can no longer afford. I am engaged now, in a way I never was before. When I close my eyes, I don't see the sterile white of the medbay. I see the endless, crushing dark. I see the cold, silent dance of bioluminescent lights, the ghost of a constellation burned into the back of my mind. I survived. I am the man who saw the truth at the bottom of the world. And I know, with a certainty that settles deeper than the Sump itself, that they wrote a void for a reason. And that somewhere in the endless, patient black, another unverified, unlogged thing is waking up. My purpose is no longer a mission. It is a state of being, a weary survivor watching the surface of the water and knowing always what lurks in the dark below.